In the previous chapter, we learned that a limit asks where nearby outputs are heading. Now we ask the next natural question. Does the graph actually keep that promise at the point? If the nearby outputs are heading toward one value, but the function value at the point is missing or different, the graph breaks. When the function value and the limiting value agree, the graph feels unbroken. That idea is called continuity. Continuity means the exact value at the point matches the value the nearby graph is approaching. Imagine drawing a graph with a pencil. If your pencil moves across the graph without a break, a hole, or a jump, the graph feels continuous. But this pencil test is only an intuition. Mathematics needs a sharper test. A graph can look almost continuous, but still fail at one point. So we need to ask three precise questions at the point. Is the function value defined? Does the limit exist? And are those two values equal? For a function to be continuous at input A, three things must happen. First, the function value f of a must exist. Second, the limit as x approaches a must exist. Third, the function value and the limit must be equal. This equality is the heart of continuity. It means the graph's nearby behavior and the graph's exact value are telling the same story. If the nearby graph approaches height 3, then the actual point must also sit at height 3. If any one of the three conditions fails, the function is not continuous at that point. Let us start with a smooth example. Take f of x equals 2x plus 1. At input 1, the function value is 3. As the input approaches 1 from the left and from the right, the output also approaches 3. So the limit is 3. The function value is 3. The two match. Therefore, this function is continuous at input 1. Now look at a hole. The nearby graph approaches height 2 from both sides. The open circle marks the height the graph is approaching. So the limit exists. But the function value at that input is missing. Because the function has no actual value there, the function is not continuous at that input. This kind of break is called a removable discontinuity. This example is still one function. For every input except 1, the graph follows the rule x plus 1. But at input 1, the function is specially defined to have value 4. The open circle shows the height the nearby graph is approaching. That height is 2. The filled red dot is not random. It is the actual value of the same function at x equals 1. So the limit exists and equals 2. The function value also exists, but it equals 4. Because 2 is not equal to 4, the function is not continuous at that point. Now consider a jump. From the left side, the graph approaches one height. From the right side, it approaches another height. The two sides do not agree, so the limit does not exist. If the limit does not exist, continuity is impossible. A jump discontinuity is a visible break where the graph changes level suddenly. Sometimes the graph breaks by shooting upward or downward. Near a vertical line, the outputs may grow without bound. The graph is not approaching a finite height, so the limit as an ordinary number does not exist. That means the function is not continuous there. This is called an infinite discontinuity because the graph becomes unbounded near the point. Continuity at one point is local, but we can also ask whether a function is continuous on an entire interval. That means the continuity test works at every point in that interval. On a continuous interval, the graph has no holes, no jumps, and no infinite breaks. This is why continuous graphs are easier to trust. Small changes in input create small changes in output. Continuity is one of the reasons calculus works. If a function is continuous, small changes in input create controlled changes in output. The graph does not suddenly teleport to a different height. This matters in motion, temperature, distance, growth, and real measurements. If time changes a little, we expect position to change a little. If distance changes a little, we expect height to change in a connected way. Continuity lets us trust the graph near the point. Before we ask for instantaneous rate of change, we need to know that the function behaves safely nearby. Now compare limit value and function value. On the continuous side, the nearby graph approaches 2, and the actual point is also at 2. So, the limit value and the function value agree. On the non-continuous side, the nearby graph still approaches 2. But the filled red dot is part of the same function, and it says the actual value is 4. So this is not a different function, and not a random dot. It is one function with a special value at x equals 1. Continuity fails because the nearby behavior and the actual value disagree. Let us correct 3 common mistakes. Mistake 1. Thinking continuous means the graph is always a straight line. Correction. Curved graphs can also be continuous. Mistake 2. Thinking a limit automatically means continuity. Correction. The limit may exist, but the function value may be missing or wrong. Mistake 3. Checking only the function value. Correction. Continuity needs the function value, the limit, and equality between them. Here is the complete idea. Continuity means no surprise at the point. The nearby graph approaches a height, and the function value sits exactly at that same height. A hole breaks continuity because the function value is missing. A wrongly filled point breaks continuity because the function value is different from the limit. A jump breaks continuity because the left and right sides disagree. An infinite break destroys continuity because the graph does not approach a finite number. So when you hear continuity, think. The graph approaches the point, reaches the point, and agrees with the point. Now we are ready for the next major step. Limits told us how to study approaching values. Continuity told us when the graph behaves safely at a point. Next, we will use both ideas to define the derivative. The derivative will measure instantaneous rate of change. But to do that correctly, we must return to one moving point, one fixed point, and the slope that appears as the 2 points come closer and closer. That is where calculus truly begins to move.